There was a point in my life where I kept telling myself, tomorrow I'll get serious. Tomorrow I'll wake up early. Tomorrow I'll be disciplined. Tomorrow I'll finally do what I know I'm supposed to do. And every night I believed it. I would plan everything in my head, how I'd wake up focused, how I'd stay consistent, how things were finally going to change. But then morning would come, and somehow nothing changed. I'd hit snooze, pick up my phone for a minute, and lose an hour. I'd tell myself, I'll start later. And later never really came. At first, I thought the problem was motivation. Then I thought maybe I just needed better habits. But the truth was harder to accept. I wasn't stuck because I didn't know what to do. I was stuck because I didn't want to let go of what was keeping me comfortable. And that's when I realized something. If you want to become the version of yourself that actually wins in life, there's something you're going to have to give up. And it's not going to feel comfortable. In fact, it's probably the one thing you've been holding on to the most. Because everyone talks about success. They talk about discipline, growth, becoming better. But no one really talks about what it costs you personally. We like the idea of changing our lives, but we don't like the idea of letting go of comfort, letting go of excuses, letting go of the habits that feel good in the moment, but quietly keep us stuck in the same place. Because comfort is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in the smallest things. Just 5 more minutes. I'll start later. I'm not ready yet. And over time, those small choices start building a life you never actually aimed for. Not because you are incapable, but because you keep choosing what is easy over what is right. And the truth is, success doesn't begin when everything feels perfect. It begins the moment you stop negotiating with your own potential. It begins when you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody is watching. Because at some point, you have to choose, not between good and bad, but between comfort and change. And that choice, made repeatedly in silence, is what eventually builds the life everyone else sees later and calls luck. I will tell you this for free. You don't need any motivational quotes to get started. You don't need to feel ready before you become ready. All you need to do is letting go of comfort, letting go of excuses, letting go of the habits that feel good in the moment, but quietly keep you stuck in the same place. Letting go of the late starts that slowly steal your mornings. Letting go of the endless scrolling that eats away your focus. Letting go of the version of you that always has a reason, but never has results. Because the truth is, comfort doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't announce itself as the thing holding you back. It feels safe, familiar, deserved. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. Because comfort is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in the smallest things. Just 5 more minutes. I'll start later. I'm not ready yet. And in those moments, it doesn't feel like you're making a decision that shapes your future. It feels temporary, harmless, something you can make up for later. But later has a way of disappearing. And over time, those small choices begin to stack, quietly, consistently, without resistance. Until one day, you look at your life and realize it doesn't reflect who you know you could be. You're not where you thought you'd be, not because you didn't dream big enough, but because you delayed long enough. A life where you are always preparing. but never fully committing. Always thinking about change, but never fully stepping into it. Always close, but never actually moving forward. Not because you are incapable, but because you keep choosing what is easy over what is right. And what's dangerous is how easy it becomes. The more you choose comfort, the more natural it feels. The more you delay, the more acceptable it becomes. The more you avoid, the less urgency you feel, until discipline starts to feel unnatural, and procrastination starts to feel like your default. That's how patterns are built, not through one big decision, but through small choices repeated daily. And eventually, those choices shape your identity. You don't just procrastinate. You become someone who always delays. You don't just avoid discomfort. You become someone who runs from growth. And the longer that continues, the harder it becomes to break. Because now, you're not just fighting habits. You're fighting who you believe you are. But here's the shift most people never make. You don't wait to feel ready to change your life. You decide, and then you act into that decision, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when your mind is telling you to wait just a little longer. Because growth doesn't come from what feels good. It comes from what moves you forward. And at some point, you have to face it. You can keep choosing comfort and stay where you are. Or you can choose discipline and become who you said you wanted to be. But you don't get both. And the truth is, success doesn't begin when everything feels perfect. It begins the moment you stop negotiating with your own potential. It begins the moment you stop waiting for the right mood, the right time, the right conditions, and start moving with what you already have. Because if you're always waiting to feel ready, you'll keep delaying the very life you say you want. It begins when you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. When your alarm goes off and you get up anyway. When your mind tells you to scroll and you choose to focus instead. When every part of you is looking for an excuse and you choose action over explanation. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody is watching. Because those are the moments that define you, not the ones where everything is easy, but the ones where you could have stopped and didn't. That's where discipline is built. That's where identity is shaped. That's where the version of you you've been talking about finally starts becoming real. Because anyone can move when they feel motivated. But the person who changes their life, that's the one who moves when motivation is gone. That's the one who shows up when it's boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. That's the one who keeps going when there's no applause, no recognition, no immediate result. And that's the difference most people overlook. They want the outcome, but they avoid the process. They want the results, but they resist the repetition. They want the life, but they hesitate at the cost. Because at some point, you have to choose, not between good and bad, but between comfort and change, between staying who you've been or becoming who you know you can be. And that choice is rarely loud. It doesn't happen once. It happens daily, quietly, repeatedly, in the small moments no one sees, in the decisions that seem insignificant but shape everything. And over time, those decisions stack. They build momentum. They build discipline. They build a version of you that no longer negotiates with delay. And eventually, they build a life that looks completely different from where you started. The kind of life people look at and call luck. But you'll know the truth. It was never luck. It was the days you showed up when you didn't feel like it, the moments you chose growth over comfort, the times you refused to go back to who you used to be. So here's the call to action. Stop waiting. Stop negotiating. Stop telling yourself, later. Choose one thing, just one, and do it today. Do it without overthinking. Do it without delaying. Do it even if it's not perfect. Because the life you want is not built in someday. It's built in what you do right now.